Yeah. And, the title of the talk is Buddha and Jesus are still woke after 2,500 years, and all the confused people in the world who get in the way. Uh, the energy of these two guys, one from northern India and one from the Middle East, is still resonating. And um, I like to show them embracing. I love this icon because they're not two really. I have them behind me, and I have that sign there that says "not true" because they're pals, they're brothers, and they work a different side of the street, but you put them both together, and it's hard to beat. And so this is what I want to sort of talk about today. So that's enough just so people can get the image of these two guys. Still sharing? There we go. Things have been a little wild today. All right. So let me talk about these two guys for a minute. Um, Much to the uh, dismay of some folks in this country, neither of these guys were white or European or American. And they're the two, these are the true dominant figures that all my teachings are based on. Uh, Buddha, Siddhartha was his name. He grew up, he was a prince in northern India about 500 or 600 years before Yeshua, which was Jesus's name in Aramaic. Jesus is the Jewish translation of Yeshua. Uh, he was the other side of the coin. Siddhartha grew up as a prince and is a kind of rich kid. And he gave up the kingdom, the physical kingdom, uh, for the inner kingdom. And Jesus was the poor kid. He was from Nazareth. It's just think of the biggest hick town near you, Raywick out here, and I was like from Raywick, and what good could come from Nazareth? They actually have a part of that in the Jewish scripture. What good could possibly come from Nazareth? So he came from nowhere. He had no means whatsoever, and yet he was a poor kid who found the kingdom as well. They both found the kingdom, and it was within for both of these guys. One guy gave it up, and one guy came from nothing and found it. They're two sides of the same coin. An interesting thing about these guys and the idea, I'm saying they are still woke after all these years. Their energy is still here, the energy of waking up. I think it's just important to I wanted to just do a session just because when you're in a kind of absolutist empire like we are now, we have to really recognize the hopefully the blinders are off and we've woken up to the fact that we're in the American empire now. Very much as people have lived in other empires, from ancient Middle Eastern empires to the Roman Empire to Spanish Empire, the French Empire, the English Empire. Really, it's the American Empire now, and we're living in it. We can figure out a way to live in it, but not be of it, and that's the contemplative track. But empires are only great for a few people. And Jesus grew up in Galilee, and it was occupied by the Roman Empire. It was called Judea. Okay, and Siddhartha left the palaces too because there was a lot of warfare going up there. So life on this planet has always been a mess in a way because human beings get confused. It's this jar. It's rarely uh, clear. It's more like this. Now's a time where it's very shook up, very confused. It's hard to tell what's going on. And these two guys emerged out of those times too. I was talking to Scott here. We were talking about the sort of turmoil now, and I said, when you look at just the Catholic mystics, which I really love, the Christian mystics, they go across both sides of both Protestant and Catholic and evangelical. But the Catholic mystics, which I know best, they showed up in the darkest of times. It was like light in the darkness. Rhineland mystics, the men and women there, dark time there. Julian of Norwich, she showed up they all showed up really during the 300 years of the plague. So imagine 300 years of COVID. Well, that was sort of, these are dark times. And the light bursts out. So that's hope for really right now. Now, Siddhartha and Yeshua, these two guys, as far as I know, well, for them, certainly they were asked a unique question. Nobody's ever asked me this question. Probably nobody's ever asked you this question. Not who are you? Because people might ask you that, what's your name or what do you do? These are questions we're used to. Hi, I'm Joe, and what do you do? Who are you? Where are you coming from? No, those are all questions we all feel. But these two guys both got the questions in both the first question the Buddha got out when he walked out of 6 years in the jungle. And he was just he was all aglow. He was transformed. Who knows what it was? But they said, not who are you, but they said, what are you? Jesus got the same question. What are you? Because these are guys who had immense life energy coming out of them, immense force. So they said, what are you? Well, the Buddha said, I'm awake. And that's what Buddha means in Sanskrit. It means you're awake. And Jesus had his own answer. He actually, as a poet, he gave a bunch of answers, because it's not just one answer to being awake. But so, this.
Frozen, I guess, connection problem.
Yeah, I think he lost his connection. He'll come back. Just do some Tonglen for him and ourselves.
You're mute, Joe.
Thanks. All right, we're finding it right. Well, we need one another when this happens. I don't know where I was, but I was talking about how the word woke itself has been twisted and mangled into 180 degrees, which is what totalitarian kind of thinking and governments do. Orwell talks about it in 1984, war is peace, how governments can turn words around. Well, woke was black lingo for be aware, wake up. Hey, don't believe what they're telling you. And so it was taken and then just we're an anti-woke government now. Florida is the place you come to, where Florida is the place woke came to die. So how you can take something that's of ultimate significance the moment you woke up in the labor and delivery room, and then these other moments that you woke up. I mean, in my life, I woke up to the fact that as a workaholic, I was destroying my marriage. Well, that's a big waking up. You know, how can waking up be bad? Why would we want to be anti-woke? But that's, you know, they don't want to awake people. Authoritarian governments don't want to wake people. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about woke. I want to sort of give it its real meaning. So I got a couple of poems, and then I'm also making a, you know, there's this thing called the Litany of the Saints in the Catholic uh, Church. And when I was in Haiti the night before Mardi Gras, the last day of celebration, and then we're going into Lent. They do a big thing at the Voodoo Temple, and they're chanting the Litany of the Saints all night in French, really, you know, or Creole, you know, so and so Saint San Lorenzo, prie pour nous, pray for us, you know, Saint somebody pray for us, pray, and it goes on, and there's drums, and they're drinking rum, and you know, it's wild. But we have this Litany of the Saints. I'm putting together a litany of the woke people. And so I've got one wokester here besides Buddha and Jesus that we're going to bring in. But first of all, a couple of poems, and then some woke wisdom, and then we'll actually hopefully turn it all in, if we can stay here, turn it all into bear on our sitting today. Because if you're not sitting to wake up deeply, you're really wasting your time. Okay. And so I'll try to make that point. This is a poem I call My Prayer Upon Waking. And it was inspired by a poem by David Whyte, which was called What to Remember When Waking. Well, it was a longer poem. And Pablo Neruda said one time, one of my favorite poets, he says, poems don't belong to the people who write them. Poems belong to the people who need them. And every once in a while, somebody sends me an email after a Monday poem, and they say, "Would you mind if I put your poem on the some platform?" And and Facebook or whatever. And I say, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Once the poem's out there, you know, it's yours." And so I was inspired by David's poem to make sort of a prayer. This is my prayer upon waking. I sort of wake up. I'm on the side of the bed. I haven't stepped on the floor yet. And I recite this poem every day. And it's a great way to start the day. So I think 9 bows to David Whyte for getting me on the way. It goes like this: My prayer upon waking. In that first hardly noticed moment in which you wake, there's a small opening into the new day which closes the moment you begin your plans. What you can plan is too small for you to live. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your soul. To become human is to become visible while carrying what is hidden as your unique gift to the world. Yeah, let me reflect on that a little bit. There's 3 stanzas. In that first hardly noticed moment in which you wake, there's a small opening into the new day which closes the moment you begin your plans. Yeah, that is so true. And that's why I try to recite this poem as my way of, because I'm 75, for most of my life, I wake up with my to-do list there. And it's like in fear that I'll never get it all done. That's what a workaholic does. You know, I'm recovering and this is a recovery piece for me, because this is my ritual now. When I get up, I sit on the side of the bed, and in that first I know this poem by heart, which means you can recite it anywhere, anytime. These are the poems I know by heart are the ones I need on a regular basis. And so I start with this one. There's a small opening into a new day, a day that never existed before. But that closes the moment you begin your plans. And so they're talking about here all the way through the poems today, we're talking about the power of the left brain, which we're trained in to close off the right brain, which is the right brain's connected with everything new, the Holy Spirit. It's connected with eternity and infinity. The left brain, the to-do list. And you need both, but one can be, as soon as you wake up, if you wake up with that, who doesn't know that feeling? You wake up with a to-do list, and the wake up mantra for most Americans, because we're sort of trained to be workaholics, is shit. You hit the alarm, shit, I got to get up. Oh, I got to start running. Okay, so that's the problem. And so the second stanza says, what you can plan is too small for you to live. Think about that for a minute, because we're talking about the left brain sort of squeezes life down so you can control it and you can get stuff done for survival. That's okay. But then you got the right brain expands life. It's what you're living for. What you can plan is too small for you to live. What you can live wholeheartedly will make plans enough for the vitality hidden in your soul. There's a lot in that stanza. First of all, what you can live when you're living by the heart will make plans enough for the vitality, that's your life force, that's hidden in your soul. So what you're living for, and the vitality to do all the stuff that needs to be done, but then to do this stuff that really makes you come alive. It's in the right brain. It's where the heart and soul is. So we got both heart and soul there, and the word vitality, but it's hidden in your soul. And that's I recite this every day, and I'm remembering where the vitality is. When I left teaching, after teaching for 30 years, it wasn't because I didn't love teaching. I still love teaching. It was because my whole heart wasn't in the way they were asking me to teach. This was, in the time where you had to go back to basics, and they wanted me to teach all this stuff. I could do it halfway asleep, but it wasn't what I was here to do. Yeah. So your life force is connected with your access to the soul, and the heart connects your soul to the spirit. And boy, then you're in business. I gotta say, and I'm so happy to be able to say it, that I've never felt more alive than I am right now at 75 from doing this work. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I have all the aches and pains of a 75-year-old, but man, I can't wait. I can wait to get to do this. Now, the last stanza really puts it all together. To become human is to become visible. We're here to become human. Just because we got this form, it doesn't mean just because we have this body and mind and whatever and digits and stuff, and just because we have a social security card does not mean we're human. We have to become fully human. And to become human is become visible, while carrying what is hidden is your unique gift to the world. Now, again, we're coming back to that hidden nature of it. To carry what is hidden, your unique gift resides with your unique self, your true self, as Merton called it. And that is your gift, to just be yourself and everything that flows from it. I really believe I was born to be a teacher. That's why I'm still teaching. But you give your gifts to the world. Yeah. Now, and that's a lot. That's a lot, and but it gets me up in the morning to be able to remember what I'm here for. I'm not here to pay the rent. I'm not here to make $1 billion. If we can cover every month it's a month by month affair around here. If we can not go into debt in a month, that's a good thing. Yeah. So now I want to introduce you to Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman is in my litany of the woke. Howard Thurman was born at the end of the 19th century, and he lived to 1981, the 20th. Was an American author. He was a Christian mystic. He was an educator. He was like a Renaissance guy. and a civil rights leader. He played a big role in the whole social justice movement in the 20th century. And he had a theology of radical nonviolence, and that influenced a whole bunch of people, including Martin Luther King. He served as a chaplain at Howard University, one of the black universities, for about a dozen years, and then he was at other universities, Boston University, for about the same amount of time, and he worked with all the guys to really have interracial, interdenominational churches in the country. Well, here's a couple bits of wisdom from this guy, because when you wake up and you actually have access to the right brain, you have access to wisdom. Okay. Here's just a couple short quotes from him that'll tee up the last poem. He said, and this first one's really helpful right now, because people are saying, well, what can I do? He said, don't ask what the world needs. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. That's a brilliant, in such a few words, he simplifies it. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive. Going back to the vitality is in your soul. You've got to find a way to bring it out every day. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. He says, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And that's exactly a problem for authoritarian governments, is people coming alive, and people are coming alive. You saw it with the Jimmy Kimmel thing. Just coming alive on your computer and dropping your Disney subscription changed the whole thing, because, governments that are run by corporations, the bottom line is God. And the bottom line for Disney didn't look so good. And so, Jimmy's back on. Not only is he back on, but he's coming to Brooklyn this week, and he's taking it to the other coast, and he has a great list of people who are going to be on. He's come alive. And we got 340 million people, and if we all come alive, they're not going to be able to run this game. Now, his second one, and this is a kind of cautionary one. He says, there is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. Yeah, that's a beautiful line. He is a contemplative. That's why he was a mystic, because he knows by experience. And I know by my experience of over 50 years of doing this kind of stuff, there's something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide that you will ever have. And if you can't hear it, you will spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. Brilliant. Yeah, so waiting and listening. That's the key, and that's, it gets us ready to go into meditation. Now, this is I'm just going to read this one through, and then we're just going to take one line of it, of this poem. I put this poem out last week. This is one of my favorite latest poems. It's called Blessed Are the Woke, and it was dedicated to Siddhartha and Yeshua, to these two big wokesters. And it's just got 4 simple stanzas, 12 lines, but I'm going to use one of the lines to take us into meditation. So this is the poem, Blessed Are the Woke. Being aware in this moment, just as it is how we practice listening and looking deeply into the heart of life. Being aware in this moment, just as it is how we water the seeds of wisdom, compassion, mercy, and joy. Being aware in this moment, just as it is how the God in me can greet the God in you, no matter what. Being aware in this moment, just as it is how woke folk live, by aspiring to love God and their neighbor as themselves. Just a couple words about this. Uh, Being aware in this moment just as it is how you can really look deeply into the heart of life, which is what meditation or contemplation is about, a deep dive of listening and looking through the heart into what is your soul. It's hard. These are immaterial things, and so we need a special kind of device, formal meditation for looking into it. Being aware in this moment just as it is how we water the seeds. This is an image from Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh always used this image. He says, we have in us the seeds of everything. You have the seeds of a mass murderer in you. You have the seeds of a saint, and it depends on, we have the seeds of violence, we have the seeds of peace, it goes on. And that's why you can't really judge anybody. You can't judge this young kid who shot Charlie Cook. You can't judge Charlie Cook, really. You don't need to do that. I watered the seeds of judgment for my whole life. I'm not doing it anymore. So what seeds are we watering when we sit in meditation? The seeds of wisdom, compassion, mercy, and joy. Those are not the seeds that are being watered by this authoritarian government where we have in this empire. No, it's not wisdom, it's lying. It's not compassion, it's cruelty. It's not mercy, it's vengeance. And it's not joy, it's death. Those are seeds too. So we're choosing to water these, okay? And this is how the God in me can greet the God in you. It's how the I thou experiment works. When you go into meditation as a community, it has a special oomph to it. I love sitting with this group because we're all just trying to connect via our hearts. We're trying to connect our own soul, our own unique part of the spirit with the spirit that's everything. And that's a unique connection. That's where the heart's like a Bluetooth. The heart will connect, make the two one. See, when the heart's involved, not two doesn't exist, you see, because you connect. And then finally, being aware in this moment just as it is. It's really the way you live. To live awake, you aspire to love God, which means to love everything, not like God is transpersonal. It's bigger than any one person, but it's not impersonal. You listen to Mary Oliver and it's, this grasshopper, the one who is eating the sugar on the palm of my hand. Even with nature, it becomes personal. St. Francis, talk to all of nature was his brother and sister. That's the connection you can make. So, but we aspire to that. And aspiration is different than expectation. Expectation is your goals. You have your for the new year and all that stuff. Something you're going to achieve. No, aspiration is directional. Aspiration is like the North Star. You never reach the North Star, but it gives you direction. If we aspire to love God, to love, which is to love everything. So really, it's all redundant. Love God and to love God and your neighbor as yourself. Well, it's just one love, and we aspire to it. And you fail. Sometimes you get lost. Following the North Star, you could get lost. It's a cloudy night. What did the slaves do when they were trying to go north and it was cloudy at night? Well, I think they sat tight. And so that's why we sit when it gets cloudy, when we lose our direction. That's when you sit too. Okay, so I want to use just this refrain that's the first line of every stanza, being aware in this moment just as it is. That's going to be our vault into sitting today. I'm inviting you to do that. and to use it with the breath. And just let me just give you an example of this, and then we'll use it to start us and go take us into the silence. I put this up normally. And you see what this is. This is a kind of directional thing too, you see. It's kind of directional because we're talking about listening and seeing deeply into the center of our true self. And so this is a kind of descent, which is what all the mystics know. And so that's why this visual is up. But I'm going to just suggest that we take 4 breaths to enter it, but different kinds of breaths. We've been working on breath for a couple of years here. But when Scott was here, this is how we introduced our sitting sessions. We took these 4 breaths, and they were kind of unique. They're conscious breathing, which I learned from Thich Nhat Hanh. And that's basic Buddhism, where you are conscious of the breath going in your body and going out of your body. And you can soup it up a little bit by breathing in through the nose and then out through pursed lips. Like the pursed lip thing is really an added thing because it that breath alone, just without anything extra, breathing in through the nose fully, slowly, and then breathing out through pursed lips fully and slowly. Now, that's a whole different thing, but that slow, full intake, inspiration, and then expiration, life and death in every breath, you see, that expiration, just doing that, it's on the website of the Cleveland Clinic, and they talk about that breath they call pursed lip breathing, because your lips are like you're blowing out a candle, but it looks like the old purses used to use, be for women. Pursed lip breathing will actually change your neural network from sympathetic, which is fight, flight, freeze, uptight, anxious, afraid, to parasympathetic, which is calm. And then it stops the flow of cortisol and adrenaline, and you can calm down, like after running away from danger or something, and then the cortisol or whatever. If you don't know how to do this, and I do this during this kind of breathing during the day, because I get anxious during the day, I get overwhelmed during the day, I get afraid of something during the day, and that's like ringing the bell for me, ringing the bell. And so then I'll at least take one of these breaths. And so I'm going to suggest we do 4 of these breaths, and there's no thinking involved until you hit the middle, when you're just following the breath in, awareness, being aware in this moment, just so you're aware of the breath coming through the nose, behind your throat, filling up your lungs, and even your belly pops out, because that's full. And when you hit that point, then recite internally these 9 words: being aware in this moment, just as it is. That's the best definition of what a fruitful time in meditation or contemplation and silence would be. Just being aware in this moment, just as it is. You don't have to make anything happen. Just being aware. Okay. So recite that to yourself. That'll take you about 3 or 4 heartbeats, and then you let the air out. And so we'll do that 4 times. So 4 times you'll get the message of really a way to sit and to just abide in the silence, listening. Okay. Being aware in this moment, just as it is the same as the first line of St. Benedict: listen with the ear of your heart. They're the same. So we'll try that for 4 breaths. Breathing in fully through the nose, out through pursed lips, and then the middle part, hold it and just recite that to yourself internally. If you're the only one there and you're muted, you can do it externally if you want, but then you're letting out a little breath, you see. So practice doing it subvocally. Being aware in this moment, just as it is. And then, so let's do 4 of those. And then we're just into the silence. Okay, bon voyage.